Peace. What's going on out there, everybody? I have an important message for you today I'd like to share, and hope that's all right if you go along with this journey with me. I started speaking, sharing my story about 11 years ago when I was asked, why is success a choice? My original message was success is a choice, and that's what I came up with on the ride to the engagement. What was the most important thing that I could share to parents and young people? And it was that success is a choice. A social worker stood up and he asked me, Cedric, your message was good, but what is success and why is success a choice? Ever since then, I dug deep to figure out what is success and why is success a choice, which is what brought me here today. 2020, and here is my response. Here is my bigger picture. You are a power plant. Your DNA is the seeds, and the fruit of the power plant is your actions. I like to speak symbolically because it paints a mental image of what I'm saying to you that can have a bigger impact than me using sophisticated English that you may or may not understand. In other words, when you use big words to explain what you're saying, sometimes people don't understand what you're saying at all. And that's why I like to use symbols and symbolic language to convey my point and paint images in people's minds. So like I said, you are a power plant. You were planted by your mother and father. That power plant consists of your cells. You have millions of cells in your body. Each of those cells contain an electrical charge which amount to an aura around you, a spectrum, which I call the biometric spectrum. That's a term that came out of my mind. But it is an energy signature that belongs to you. Each and every human being has an energy signature that is the result of the cells in their body that was granted to them by the conception of them by their mother and their father. Now, this aura can also, this biometric spectrum rather, can also grow and manifest in different ways as you get older. People who influence you, they enhance or devolve that biometric spectrum. The relationships that you build, that you accrue along the way, they enhance or devolve that biometric spectrum. The foods that you eat along the way, they evolve or devolve your biometric spectrum. I've been thinking about the imbalance that exists in our communities and why people who are well paid feel unhappy, and why people who do the wrong thing and commit crimes feel rational or validated in doing so. And what I realize is that we are operating without knowledge, understanding, and the realization of our biometric spectrum. The biometric spectrum, everybody, it needs to be made apparent. We're moving into an increasingly technological era where we are influenced by technology every single place that we turn. It's even laughable to me that I have to get out my most critical message to you by way of social media and by way of talking to a camera. But it goes to show the prevalence and the importance of technology today. What I want you to understand, family out there, is that you are a technology that needs to be made known to yourself and the world in order for us to correct the imbalance that is heavy, pertinent, and prevalent in our communities. The technology that you are needs to be manifest, it needs to be made known common sense, and it needs to be upheld by the community. You have a biometric spectrum that needs to be made visible, and quite possibly you should have the prerogative as to whether someone can see it or they cannot see it. That should be a choice of yours. But the biometric spectrum, it needs to exist, people. I I want you to feel the gravity of the message that I'm sharing with you today. This did not come out of a book. This is not something I heard somebody else say. This is what I realized after digging deep and gathering what is success and why is success a choice. Some entry-level information on this situation. Most people do not have access to the true power and potential of their biometric spectrum, even though it's connected to them and they have it. They're not able to access it as much as others because they have not identified their flaw, their fault. Now think about what a fault is. A fault is like a crack in the sidewalk. It's like a crack in the earth's crust that results in spillage, that results in loss of efficiency, which is ultimately loss of effectiveness, which would result in imbalance, which could result in chaotic events happening. You see where I'm going with this? In our communities, there are chaotic events happening. There are cracks that people slip through, and in those cracks, things happen. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. But there's a lot of cracks happening in our community. And even though that sounds like a play on word, there's crack in our communities. But I'm here to tell you today that each and every one of us has a crack in our biometric spectrum. It's the entry point of our existence. And if we're not careful in this day and age, it will be the exit of our existence. More on that later. But what I'm talking about is the fact that each and every one of us has a crack in our biometric spectrum that manifests itself as our tragic flaw. It's something that we do that blocks our potential. It's something that we do that stops us from being the very best that we can be. And on the surface level, without being technical, what we need to do is we need to address that flaw. We need to conquer that flaw and overcome that flaw. And then it will allow us to become whole. It will allow us to become one with our biometric spectrum. What I'm here to tell you today, family, is that not only do we need to become one with our biometric spectrum by overcome our flaws, which would be major and cause a deep impact in our communities, but the biometric spectrum needs to be made real. It needs to be made into an energy signature that has gravity. It needs to be made a force field around the individual that is a protector, that is a informant, that is a sonic and visual presence in addition to the body. Because what's happening right now is like, imagine, first of all, you are an apparatus. You're not just a person. You're an apparatus, and there are other parts of you that you have not been. Maybe you didn't know about them, but you know about them today. But furthermore, you haven't been using them. One of those items is your biometric spectrum. And it's like not understanding that when you screw a light bulb into a socket, that bright light that you get from that light bulb, it impacts the entire room. You know that the light bulb is there. You know that the filament is inside of the light bulb. You, the human being, is like a filament. You are a filament operating without cognizance and respect and credit for the light that you give off, which enables the world to have the power that it needs to happen. And so what we need in order to correct the deficiency and the imbalance, in order to correct the behaviors that are happening in our communities, people who go out and do the wrong thing by robbing, stealing, killing, or people who go out and do the very best things that they can do, such as going to college, becoming a professional to add value to their communities, and that being something that is stressful along the way and after the achievement. How many doctors in the world today are stressed out? How many lawyers in the world today are stressed out? Judges, the president. Look at the stress that incurs on the president. something that someone works so hard for only to obtain and then endure even more stress. What I'm saying to you today, family, is that no matter what route you take in life, there's going to be tremendous stress. That stress needs to be offset by the manifestation, the presence, the invention, the creation of the biometric spectrum. I founded a company called Science in Motion Group LLC in the year 2007 to explain that which I did not have the words to say. I just knew that we needed to put science in motion. Today, family, what I'm giving you is the crux, the crucial understanding, the bigger reality of my entire journey, which is that the biometric spectrum of the human being, it needs to be made real, it needs to be made apparent, and it needs to be common sense amongst people that it is the missing part of the apparatus that is the human being. Circling back to foster care, when you take a young person from their biological family, you are implying that you're going to do a better job of developing this young person than their family was doing in the first place. The journey of life is pulling and tugging at you, trying to get you to see that you have a biometric spectrum that you need to cooperate with in order to manifest into your best self. A lot of people in foster care are so traumatized by being taken away from their family and going from place to place, and the negatives and the positives that come along with that they end up being obsessed with what happened to them as opposed to actually growing into the best versions of themselves. And so in the industry of foster care, it is indubitably important that we communicate to them that they have a biometric spectrum that exists, whether their parents and family are in their lives or not, that they need to become one with, and that they need to manifest, and that will send critical information to them and that they can resonate with in order to grow and become the best versions of themselves that they can. Once a person realizes what the biometric spectrum is and that they have a biometric spectrum, it offsets stress. It alleviates the belief that you are nobody, and it allows you to firmly understand that you are somebody. Go ahead and be somebody, family, because you have a biometric spectrum. Your biometric spectrum is as real as you are. As we attempt to become more technologically advanced, engaging in third-party programs and products, we need to understand that we ourselves are a technology. In fact, we might be the greatest technology on the planet today. We need to make this technology real. We need to make this technology known. My challenge to you out there is to join me in the challenge of making the biometric spectrum real. You might have more technological skill than me. You might be able to do it without me. You might be able to co-opt people that you know to get started on this journey further than I can. But I wanted to plant the seed today, family. I wanted to let you know that the climax of my ideas, the bigger picture that I come up with as a result of answering the question, why is success a choice? I wanted to bring it to you today so that it could be a part of your thought processes now. I want to see our community get ahead. I want to see our community grow and prosper. But we're missing out on the point that the major critical point that we have a biometric spectrum that's not being added to our value in the world. Each and every one of us has a biometric spectrum with a gift inside of it that the community needs, that the world needs. Let's make biometric spectrum an everyday part of our vocabulary and understanding of what we are and who we are as a people. It's critical. It's critical. This is the most important thing that I could possibly say to you, family. I hope that you take it for as serious and as impactful as it truly is. For us to be operating in the world, finding ways to achieve happiness, all without having a biometric spectrum known to the world. it's creating the imbalance that we have today. The greatest technology that we could come up with, family, that would leverage our true value, that would sit everybody at the round table, and that would get everybody a fair chance at success to the fullest extent, will be for everybody to get credit for their biometric spectrum. Now, in the beginning of this video, I mentioned that we had millions of cells in our body. Each of those cells has a voltage. That voltage adds up to a really, really, really big energy source, like a power plant, which is why I said that you are a power plant. Family, if you got credit for the power plant that you are, you wouldn't have financial issues anymore. You wouldn't have respect issues anymore. You would not have the struggle of explaining your identity anymore, which would alleviate stress. It would be impossible for you to be oppressed. Family, you are a power plant. Your DNA is the seeds, and your actions are the fruits. There's nothing bad about the fact that you have a biometric spectrum. Going forward, let's eliminate bad. Let's not eliminate one another, because a lot of people are losing their lives out there because their biometric spectrum is not apparent. Nobody knows about it. It's not common knowledge. It's not common sense. No one's getting credit for it. So lives are being taken as if they're meaningless. Let's eliminate bad. Bad and negative are not the same thing. Bad is not necessary. Negative is necessary, because the negative is what's inside of you. What's inside of you are the cells that are adding up to your biometric spectrum. So we have an affinity to the negative, but the bad has been attached to the negative. So we think that bad is a part of life, and bad is something that we accept. We don't have to accept bad, family. What we have to do is we have to accept our negatives, the images that are inside of us, that are resonating inside of our blood, inside of our cells, that are trying to be made manifest, which is how I came up with the bigger picture that I'm presenting to you today, family. Which is that we have a biometric spectrum that needs to be made real. That will be the greatest technological advancement of this decade. Let's talk more. Get in contact. Cedric Speaks at Gmail. Cedric Speaks on Instagram. MotivateFosterKids.com. Seminar Soundtrack is going to teach this in a symbolic way, family. Let's roll. Thank you.